Katharine Ross, The Graduate, BAFTA, 4 marriages, and One Day in 2010 that changed everything. She was born in Hollywood in 1940, a place where everyday life and movie making share the same streets. A childhood of frequent moves taught discipline and observation. Stage work and small television parts became training grounds where stillness carried more weight than flourish. By the mid-1960s, Ross stood at the line where television gigs give way to cinema roles that demand inward strength rather than showy gestures. Workshops and scene study classes reinforced a minimalist approach, letting subtext breathe, trusting the camera's patience, and grounding emotion in stillness rather than rhetorical showmanship. A breakthrough everyone could hear. The Graduate made her a face of a generation caught between tradition and rebellion. As Elaine Robinson, Ross embodied a new cinematic sensitivity, a heroine who understands more than she says, with turning points conveyed through honest looks rather than loud speeches. An Academy Award nomination and BAFTA recognition formalized the impact, but something subtler mattered more. Audiences discovered an actress who could play silence so clearly that it said more than dialogue. Framed by Nichols' clean compositions and uneasy rhythms, her restraint opposite Dustin Hoffman anchored the film's ambivalence. By the final shot, her watchful gaze had become its moral center. From Butch Cassidy to the Stepford Wives. In Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, alongside a legendary duo, Ross steered the story toward human depth without stealing momentum. The early 1970s confirmed the direction. Tell Them Willie Boy Is Here showed a willingness to shoulder material with a heavy undercurrent. The Stepford Wives in 1975 turned her restraint into an engine of unease and the feeling of substitution, how a smile can be a mask. Voyage of the Damned in 1976 added historical weight and moral complexity. Across the decade, her screen presence settled into something distinctive. Characters that do not shout yet feel layered, as if another hidden act is unfolding beneath each scene. Television as a field of nuance. Large television projects did not lower the bar. In Murder in Texas in 1981 and The Shadow Riders in 1982, Ross kept choosing roles that left room for the viewer's inference. The format, with its tight pacing and fast turns, only highlighted her technique, trusting pauses, letting small shifts in tone carry meaning, refusing the easy beat when a harder, truer one was available. Working within network constraints and frequent ad break rhythms, she leaned into reaction shots rather than declarations, calibrating presence within ensemble casts. The result was a quietly tensile register, suspicion held in the jawline, empathy in breath that made ordinary exposition feel lived in, precise, and unexpectedly modern. Private life before Elliott, searching for footing. Ross's private life moved as briskly as her shooting schedules. In 1960, she married actor Joel Fabiani. The marriage was brief. In 1964 came a union with John Marion. Work intersected with life in 1969, during Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, when she and cinematographer Conrad Hall formed a partnership that became a marriage. In 1974, Ross sought steadiness outside the set and married Gaetano Tom Lisi. That chapter closed in 1979. Those years were not a tally of missteps so much as a record of following one's sense of self in a time when a career demanded nearly all attention, yet stability still mattered. A meeting that needed time. On The Legacy in 1978, she met Sam Elliott. Outwardly, it was just a job. In reality, it began one of Hollywood's quieter long stories, built on respect for boundaries. In 1984, they married, and their daughter, Cleo Rose, was born the same year. Elliott provided bedrock, calm, distance from unnecessary publicity, and a steady rhythm at home. That space allowed Ross to choose projects not for speed but for meaning. Both careers matured in parallel, and the union took shape slowly. Phone calls, shared scenes, mutual wariness about spectacle. They appeared together only when the material fit, keeping the marriage offstage by design. Domestic routine became ballast, hikes, dogs, Scripts read aloud at the kitchen table, small rituals that made the work feel chosen, not compulsory. Motherhood, light and shadow. As Cleo Rose pursued music, a familiar family pattern appeared, the alternation of closeness and friction that comes with independence. The details remained private, as they should. What is visible is the rhythm, tenderness, tension, repair, the line between a celebrated public career and the privacy of a mother-daughter bond held, even as it was tested. There were seasons of distance and cautious reunion, the negotiations every family conducts as children become adults. Ross's instinct was to lower the volume rather than escalate, fewer statements, more presence. Music gigs, holidays, ordinary errands, neutral ground where trust could be rehearsed. Boundaries hardened, then softened, but the commitment to privacy endured. The day that changed the tone. In March 2010, an altercation at home left Ross with a hand injury. A court then granted her a restraining order that required distance and barred contact. The event marked a fracture no headline could mend. It was not only a wound but a change in the family's weather, a moment after which trust had to be rebuilt with new rules. The hardest part is not the legal language but the ordinary truth beneath it, pain moving from a living room into the public square. Aftermath. Living, not explaining. The restraining order did not turn Ross into tabloid fodder. If anything, it reinforced a choice already visible in her work, to be selective and quiet. She stepped away from the urge to narrate, declined to fuel curiosity with detail, and returned to projects only where the work itself justified attention. Readings, smaller formats, sometimes writing, ways to channel experience without surrendering the boundary lines that guard a life. Priorities shifted. Respect for her craft did not. She curated public moments as if curating scenes, spacing them, trimming excess, letting quiet carry meaning. Occasional festival appearances or Q&As were brief, polite, and bounded. Work arrived at an artisan pace, voice work here, a reading there, while the larger project was domestic, repairing weathered ties, protecting equilibrium, and letting the unspoken remain mercifully unperformed. Creativity off camera. Not every artist continues through a role. Some continue by the way they look at the role from the outside. Ross's voice on pages, at small events, in modest settings, has the same quality as her best performances, an aversion to theatrical shortcuts in favor of a human tone. This is not a new project in a show business sense. It's a way to stay in shape while keeping what matters protected. Think curated readings, brief introductions for retrospectives, and private writing exercises that refine cadence more than plot. She favors intimate rooms, bookstores, community theaters, festival sidebars, where a paragraph, a pause, or a letter can carry the weight a monologue once did. The aim is continuity of craft without the atmosphere of publicity. Today, quieter does not mean smaller. Ross appears rarely, and when she does, the manner is recognizably hers, unhurried and precise. Privacy is a value, not a posture. Family comes first, without needing proof in a feed. There is a cost to this, less noise around the name, and a gain, the ability to live without answering to a constant commentary on one's past. Work is a choice, not an obligation. Presence is intentional, not habitual. Why this story matters? There is a simple shape to her path. Hollywood offered scale. Ross answered with discipline, attention to nuance, and roles that asked for inward power. The performances people remember: The Graduate in 1967, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969, The Stepford Wives in 1975. The television work of 1981 and 1982 came from a belief that quiet can carry. Her private life included searching and course corrections, then settled into a union where steadiness did not become stagnation. The hardest chapter, the 2010 conflict, did not reduce her to headlines. It was an ordeal followed by an adult decision: protect the boundary lines and leave explanations where they actually belong. Closing note: this is not a tale of fall and comeback. It is a study in maturity. An actress who learned early to draw force from a pause decided to apply the same technique to living. From noisy premieres to deliberate calm, from the rush of fame to the slow craft of a guarded, chosen life. In youth, her silence made the drama sharper. Today, that same silence holds a different balance between a past to be proud of and a present to be preserved. What remains on screen when the credits fade is the thing she perfected: a gaze that completes a line, a half smile that complicates a scene, the patience to let meaning arrive. In a culture that prizes declaration, Ross kept choosing implication. The result across decades is a body of work that invites the audience closer without ever shouting for attention. And beyond the frame, a life that treats dignity not as a performance but as practice.